The full scale of Boko Haram killings and other atrocities may never be known. However, when the stock is eventually taken, if ever, a number of massacres will stand out for their sheer cruelty, even in the general context of the unimaginable horror wreaked by the insurgents on Nigeria. One was the Bolaji massacre of February 2014, when Boko Haram invaded the federal government college located in the town and slaughtered 59 boys as they slept in their dormitories. Another was the Baga massacre of January 2015, where Boko Haram killed an estimated 2,000 people, mostly women, children, and the elderly. Amnesty International described this atrocity as Boko Haram's deadliest massacre. Yet, not even the aforementioned would capture international attention, like the dramatic abduction of over 200 girls in Chibok, Borno State, on the 14th April 2014. Chibok will shake the world and bring Boko Haram squarely into global consciousness. On that Monday night, a group of armed men arrived at the government girls' secondary school, Chibok, at about 9 p.m. in a convoy of trucks, buses, and motorcycles. After opening fire on the few soldiers on guard at the school, they herded the girls into waiting vehicles and disappeared into the night after burning down the school and the surrounding houses. The state government had closed down about 85 secondary schools the previous month in response to incessant attacks on educational facilities and Boko Haram's specific threat to kidnap girls from schools. Chibok is located about 130 kilometers from the state capital, and the girls' school was at the time serving as an examination center for all the students in the surrounding schools sitting for the West African School Certificate Examination. In the aftermath of the kidnap, the national head of the regional examination body claimed that the state governor had refused to heed advice to relocate all the students to Maiduguri, which was believed to be relatively safer and better protected, promising instead to provide security for the school. Nevertheless, the idea of up to 300 girls kidnapped was difficult to comprehend and would take days to sink into national consciousness. Even though Boko Haram had been involved in a few cases of kidnapping in the past, it was its breakaway but lesser known faction, Ansari, that was more known for kidnapping. Quite remarkably, therefore, it was not the kidnapping of the girls that dominated the news the next day. Rather, it was another Boko Haram attack on the same day that caught national attention. A few minutes before 7 a.m. on the same Monday, 14th April, 2 explosions went off at a crowded motor park in Yanya, Nasarawa State. Because of its close proximity, only about 8 kilometers from Abuja, many who work in the nation's capital live in the town and commute daily by bus. The bomb blast must have been perfectly timed for the morning rush hour. Up to 88 people were reportedly killed and another 200 injured. The story of my sack from Jonathan's government is actually quite interesting. I've read it somewhere, I've read it in different forums. People say I resigned, some people say I was sacked and all that. But what actually happened was that we went to Ilorin for a rally. The president had already declared his intention to contest for a second term. So there was a rally in Ilorin. As a minister from Kwara State, I was supposed to lead the president's team and organize the event. I was there quite a lot. But when we got to Ilorin, I was invited that I needed to lead the campaign speech, and I was expected to make a speech because at that time Dr. Saraki had crossed to APC. He was there for the political enemy. So I was supposed to make a speech denouncing him and condemning him and inviting Kwarans to reject him. And I said, no, never. I will not be able to do this. And why did I say that?
It's, yes, sir, it's loyalty, but it's not loyalty to Dr. Saraki per se. It was you or anybody that I have a relationship with. I will do the same. Because my training, my upbringing will not have allowed me to do anything to the contrary. If you have a relationship with someone, if you have been with someone and go through things with that person, you have to stay with that person. You must not be the one to be. If they wanted to abuse him, they will have abused him. But to ask me to be the one to abuse him, I would not have done that. I got my greatest reward from the greatest affirmation of my position from one young lady that is in this hall. That was my daughter. She was studying in the UK. I visited her. I was actually on my way to Russia for an assignment when I landed in the UK and I saw it that I had been sacked. So I decided to just remain, stop the journey there. And I went to visit my daughter to talk to her before she started reading things online. So I saw her and she said, "You were sacked because you refused to betray your friend?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Daddy, I'm proud of you." And that was the first time I shed tears about it. And the significance for me was that by my action, it was difficult, but my action had managed to teach this young girl something. Loyalty. So that is significant for me. That is one. Two, I think it would be hypocritical of me to stand for something and not expect repercussion. Right? I chose to do that. There was no way I would have done that and expect to remain in that government. Right? So it was a natural consequence of the choice that I made. So there was absolutely no bitterness at all. There's nothing to get back at anybody for.
Now, shortly after the publisher of this book brought it out, Dr. Jonathan spoke through one of his aides, Reno, or mockery. He said that it is not true that he ever had any meeting to renege on his decision to concede defeat to candidate Muhammadu Buhari. He contested almost convincingly the date and time of the meeting in this book. He also contested your claim that Emeka Ihedioha had lost an election at the time you said he lost the gubernatorial election. He then gleefully dismissed this book, as a tissue of lies, and he suddenly got inspiration from Shakespeare. So he quoted Shakespeare's Macbeth. He said that this book is a tale told by an idiot, full of sand and fury, signifying nothing. Your immediate reaction to me was rather tepid. I want you to speak right now, Bolaji. To speak right now, not as a politician, but as a right, in defense of the sanctity of this book. Please do that right now.
I will say abolition that at the time that Reno or whoever was making that comment, nobody else, apart from maybe people in Kachifo and myself, I read that book. The book had not arrived, had not even come out of print. So it's one wonderful side of Nigeria that I discovered. That this is a country where people write a full review of the book they have not read. So at the time that Reno was making that comment, they had not read this book. So the snippets that were coming through the mass media were the ones we extracted from the manuscripts and gave to my friend in Civic. That is one. Two. Let me say here that, and this may not be significant, but it's important because when people say certain things and purport to speak for people, we need to know who they are. Reno was not speaking for President Jonathan. And I did not respond to Reno because Reno was not Jonathan's spokesperson. Reno was a special assistant to the late Oronto Douglas. He's far removed from all these things happening. So there was no way it was an SA to an SA. So there's no way he would have known this kind of high level events, not to talk of being a part of it. The observation he made about the dates and the mix-up, yes, it's a human endeavor. I did not claim that it's a Bible or a Quran. So I would have mixed the dates of an event or something. But the significant thing was that a meeting was held shortly after the election, where people gathered and tried to had to get President Jonathan to reverse himself, and actually tried to get the national chairman of PDP, Adamu Muazu at the time, to issue a statement rejecting the outcome of the election. I mentioned people's names who were part of that meeting. Majority of them are alive. They are either in Abuja or in Lagos. Not a single one of them has come out to say he did not attend any such meeting. President Jonathan himself had not said he did not attend it. Tony Anene has said he did not say he did not attend it. All the governors of the South and the Southeast that were there did not say they did not attend the meeting. So what Reno tried to do was to capitalize on that mix-up in dates to discredit the entire thing. I think the significant thing was that the meeting was held, and there's no question about it. Let me also quickly add that another person that had come out to say, I lied about this book and I was going to take me to court was the former governor of Olusegun. I reported in this book that he tried to pressure the then Attorney General, Mohammed Bello Adoke, to issue a fiat to enable a private citizen to prosecute President Buhari for certificate forgery. Now, when we did the presentation of this book in Abuja, the chief presenter, Chidele Momodu, unknown to me, got in touch with Bello Adoke and asked him, did Bimiko actually try to get you to issue a fiat for Buhari's prosecution? And he read Adoke's response at the venue of the book law, where Adoke confirmed that Mimiko actually pressured him, and that after Mimiko left him, he went to President Jonathan and reported to President Jonathan that Mimiko has been putting pressure on him to issue a fiat for the prosecution of Buhari for certificate forgery. But I told him that it is not possible because in law, I don't have enough ground, enough basis to carry out such. And Jonathan told me, if that's the position of the law, follow it. Since the law did not have anything about anybody taking me to court regarding that.
There were people from the South geopolitical zone who believed that Boko Haram was organized and financed by some northern political elite to destabilize the government of President Goodluck Jonathan. There were northerners too who believed strongly that Boko Haram was sponsored by the presidency to destroy the North. I have read your careful investigation of these claims in your book. Could you please speak to your findings?
Well, I mean, you will see that Boko Haram actually took a significant part of this book. 3 chapters for Boko Haram alone. It was actually, at the point where we considered actually taking it out as a separate book. It was that massive. We had to cut to even fit into this book. Because it was an extensive investigation that I tried to do in understanding what this Boko Haram actually meant. I was in government and I was familiar with the narrative, with the interpretation that some of our colleagues were giving to Boko Haram. It is true that it was for a very long time, President Jonathan was made to believe that Boko Haram was something that was contrived and sponsored by northern political elite to make the country ungovernable for him, as he had threatened before the election. And for a very long time, that dictated his attitude to the whole thing. All this that Nigerians were condemning him, he was slow, he was not acting, people were being killed, he was not acting. It was not because he didn't care, but he was being told that it was not a security situation, it was a political machination, you know. And surprisingly, I had on the other side, like in Borno axis, the Borno elite believed, these are eminent Nigerians, majority of them with national honors, believed that Boko Haram was actually contrived by the Jonathan people and the Southerners to decimate the population of the North. And they believed it. So you can see two extreme interpretations of this. But Boko Haram was neither of this. Boko Haram was a case of resistance. It was a case of civic resistance gone bad. Because the people who call themselves Boko Haram, by the way, they never call themselves Boko Haram. The people who we call Boko Haram had been existing in Borno axis, Borno Yobe axis for a very long time. But they saw themselves as a special breed of people who were more pious than the rest of the country. And they started organizing themselves into that kind of community and making nuisance of themselves. They didn't become the kind of killers and terrorists that they became until Mohammed Yusuf was killed, and they ran away and went for training outside the country and came back for the purpose of carrying out revenge. And you will notice that initially their attacks were mainly police stations, government. They didn't have problems with this indiscriminate bombing. But when the way Nigerian government responded also, then they began to look for, that was when they now began to look for an ideology to justify what they were doing, and began to say it's about Islam, it's about the need to do Sharia. Sharia was never a part of their consideration from the beginning. And that was why you will not be surprised that when they were being busted, in some of their accounts, they find that people still find bottles of alcoholic drinks and condoms and used condoms and all that. And this way, people still were propagating Sharia. So, unfortunately for me, the surprising thing for me is that the Boko Haram situation appears now to be repeating itself. And we are giving the same interpretation that we gave the initial one, that it is political, that it is not real, that, you know. So, for me, I think this is an important aspect of our history, and it's critical for us to know that conspiracy theories may be very attractive, but they don't substitute for hard facts.
Yeah. You have shown in the book that the Boko Haram crisis inflicted irreparable damage to the government of President Jonathan. But the herdsmen crisis is also messing up the government of Muhammadu Buhari badly. What is your take on that?
Maybe I should switch on my APC spokesperson mode. I must say that The question you ask is a question we are also asking ourselves within the party. We are worried, we are disturbed with the way these herdsmen killing have been going. And we know that it has the potential to affect our political fortune if we don't deal with it with a kind of decisiveness that was required to deal with Boko Haram, which was missing. So if we fail to do that, we also know the consequences because we have a recent experience to learn from. But what I'm saying is that for me, the significant part of it is also that even as we speak, there are also interpretations of what is going on regarding the herdsmen that approximates very closely the interpretation that President Jonathan was being given about Boko Haram. You will recall last week some people came out to say, oh, what happened in Benin was communal clash. Some say, oh, it was Governor Otto who armed some militia, then refused to pay them, then this militia turned their weapons against the people. I don't speak to President Buhari, and I don't speak for him. I speak for the party, and I work in the party. But what I want to say is that it's frightening for us to hear this, and at the party level, we're having a conversation that we need to see the president and tell him that this interpretation you are being given is potentially destructive of our party and your own position as the president and potential presidential candidate in 2019.
You've written such a great book, very interesting. I'd like to know first what motivated you to write this book.
Well, I just feel that much of what's happening to our country, especially in the political arena, that form most of the time what constitutes our history, keep evaporating. The newspapers report them on a daily basis, then we just move on. I find out we are a country that like to move on. So for me, I found myself in a position where I have been a part of a history, and that gave me opportunity to talk to certain categories of people, to listen to certain categories of people, to witness certain kind of events. So I felt I had a role to play in putting all this together in a more enduring format. And that was exactly the reason I've written the book.
What's your reaction to ex-President Jonathan saying your book is full of lies?
Well, I want to say that at the time that statement was being made, I'm confident that nobody has read that book because that book has not even arrived in Nigeria. It's just some of the tidbits from the manuscript that we're releasing to the media. So for anybody to dismiss a book of close to 400 page that he has not read as a issue of I think is presumptuous, is preposterous, and I don't think does not have validity. And I believe that if President Jonathan, whom I know very well, is a great man, is a gentleman, is an academic, I believe after he has had the opportunity to read the book, he will have a different opinion. By the way, he was not the one who said so. It's someone who proposed to speak for him that said that. Yeah.
Saying that you're part of this current administration and actually being called a Sarah Kid's boy, and sometimes by some persons, would you eventually write a book about present Senate President Sarah Kid?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing next. I was able to write this book because I had the time. I had the time. It's difficult to write a book. It depends on what I'll be doing in the next couple of months. So if I have the kind of opportunity, the kind of time, that I had to write this one, a writer will always write. That's what we do. So why not?
Your book did seem to depict some of the very corrupt practices during the Jonathan administration. Do you think that you would be doing some of those writing to reveal some of the corrupt practices in today's administration as well, sometime when you get out of office?
Well, I don't know of any. I didn't set out to write about corrupt practices or any particular accident. I set out to write a history book. So if I find myself in a situation where I have to write about this era, I'll write about everything. So just the same way as I did. I'm a writer, so more than any other thing.
Being such a very renowned journalist in the country, I'd like to know what your expectations are from today's book reading.
The important thing about it is that this is history. History is important. Memories are important. I mean, because without memories, we are nowhere. We're all memories, you know. And if you pitch that against the fact that many of our secondary school students are not taught history, anymore, and many of the millennia members of the millennial generation, don't also know, significant moments in our history. You now will see that a book like this is important because it's full of stories, contemporary history, and that will be of use to those who want to make sense of what is going on now.
What should we be expecting from today's reading?
We want to take Bolaji Abdullahi to task. We want him to come and answer certain questions about this book that he has written. This sort of book is really, really important for the growth and for the development of Nigeria, because there isn't a lot of research going on. We don't have a lot of history books being written by Nigerians about Nigeria. So this kind of book ends up being all that we have. This is what we have for posterity. And if people are going to write such heavy books about such important topics, then it's critical that we talk to them and we ask them questions about certain things that are actually in the book.
What do you say to the ex-president Jonathan, who said that the book is a book full of lies? What's your reaction to that?
I'll say Donald Trump said the same thing about Fire and Fury. I don't think any leader likes it when books are published, especially when the books don't paint them in a light that's, lovely, bright lights. And I think that's what it is. The fact that there's a lot there that he may want to dispute. And I have a simple answer for him, which is, you know what, you got to write your own book. You've got to tell us your truth.
Do you anticipate a huge readership for this book?
I think lots of people are going to buy this book because it's really interesting. But two, like I said, this is what we have by way of historical, texts. This is what people are going to be reading in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. This is the kind of book that's going to tell them what actually went on in this during this exact time and what's going on the political landscape.